Look! Look, the dynamic duo!
That's the trailer to me. Even within that small snippet, there are aspects I like, there are aspects I don't like, like that. But overall, if I'm going to take that snippet, I'm going to say on the positive rather than the negative. Because what does it give me? It gives me a Superman that says, hey, listen, I'm that guy. I'm him. I'm gonna do the right thing. I'm gonna save the child, regardless of what people think or what people say. So it's a microcosm of the whole trailer. What did you think of Lex Luthor or his presentation?
I honestly, first let me say this. My favorite Luthor, I've had two. One, the version from the animated series.
I'm afraid we already have a window washer. Oh, the silent treatment, eh? Well, I don't know what you thought you heard out there, but I know what you can prove, and it's nothing. You see, Superman, I own Metropolis. My technology built it, my will keeps it going, and nearly 2/3 of its people work for me whether they know it or not. Even you have to admit it's a model of efficiency. And yet, I've often thought, why limit myself to just one city? A being with your abilities could be very useful to me on a, shall we say, global scale. Why don't you float on in and we'll discuss it? Say something!
I'll be watching you, Luthor.
Wait! I'm not finished with you!
Indeed.
What Clancy Brown did, even as the voice actor for the character, was dynamite on 5 sticks. Okay.
5 sticks.
And even though a lot of people disagree with me, I still love Gene Hackman from the original film. I love how arrogant he was against Superman. Okay.
If I may jump in. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
In terms of the young gentleman who's playing him now, that remains to be seen, but I have to tell you, at least visually, what they've shown, he looks like a very marginal to weak version of Kevin Spacey from Superman Returns to me.
It's interesting. It's very, very interesting. It's very, very interesting, our sensibilities, and the hyper critical level that you view the DC materials as opposed to the way I view the Marvel materials. And I apply that same standard when I'm thinking about Marvel. That's why I don't like Captain America: First Avenger, but that's one of your favorite movies. To answer your question, first of all, you're absolutely right that animated Lex Luthor is by far the best depiction of Lex Luthor that there is. It is the standard. It's 10 out of 10. It's on point, 100%. Having said that, I gotta disagree with you, my brother. I think Gene Hackman's Superman was a bad. I mean, Gene Hackman's Lex Luthor was a bad. The comedic aspect that he brought to the character, I think, especially along with Otis, I think literally for me ruins the movie. It ruins the movie. Superman to me was a great perfect, excellent movie ruined by Gene Hackman's Lex Luthor. It was comedic. It wasn't villainous enough. It wasn't grounded enough. It was comedic. And you know how I feel about comedy with respect to
Right.
those things. And I think it got more and more out of control. And again, when you're adding the doom, doom, doom with Otis, it just ruined the movie for me. I think, and I forget the actor's name that's playing this character. I got to tell you, I think he's the best live action Lex Luthor we've seen. So if it's not Gene Hackman, it's not Kevin Spacey, because Kevin Spacey's Lex Luthor was terrible, was horrible. It's not the only person that could come close to me was what's his name, Michael Baum, or from Smallville.
Michael Rosenbaum.
Rosenbaum. I'm sorry, I combined the names. Michael Rosenbaum. His Lex Luthor was good, but frankly, in many ways comparable to this Luthor. Because if I was going to say this Luthor is modeled after anyone, I would say it's modeled after Rosenbaum. In other words, he's a younger-ish type of Lex Luthor, rather than the more mature, older Lex Luthor. And so far, what I've seen, I see a menacing, I see a dangerous. I do. I see it. I see. No, he wouldn't be my first choice as the actor to play Lex Luthor. He wouldn't be. But as a choice, when I'm comparing live action performances, I would say that he's the best by far that I've seen. And I see the potential for him to be Lex Luthor and what Lex Luthor could be.
The other quick thing that I am speculating on, but I believe this is what is done, is that there is a combination of, okay, Superman is doing stuff and the government isn't happy and on down the line, and that's why the Justice Gang, God, I hate that, is brought in. But I also believe there is a possibility it's about that big, but I believe there is a possibility that because Superman appears to keep getting his behind kicked in this movie, they are brought in as backup for him. I truly think that's how they get introduced. I'm not sure that I like that. As a matter of fact, I know I don't like it.
Now, I'll take you one step further. I would hate that. One of the pet peeves that I have is, and I blame Straczynski for Michael J. Straczynski with Spider-Man, along with other people, Bendis and all these other people. The idea of presenting the hero as weaker, that's always been a problem with Superman, with a lot of people, myself included. And I don't want a weaker, a guy who's getting his butt handed to him in every fight. The stronger the Superman, the better, more exciting it is to me. So if they presented a Superman who cannot defeat the villain without the help of other people, yeah. Listen, right now, what we have for the Fantastic Four and what we have for Superman is we have the potential to go either way. It could either be a very good and exciting movie, or it could go the wrong way and be a stupid, ridiculous movie that ruins Superman. This trailer is not enough to tell us one way or the other. Yes, it could be terrible. This movie could be terrible based on the trailer that I'm seeing. But I'm also saying that it could be wonderful. It could be powerful. Not perfect. Perfect would have been right costume, right this, right, but it could be exciting. It could be good. It could be on the level of some of the movies that we've come to love. So yeah.
My captain, I want to throw out a challenge for you.
Go.
Look at the trailer again in your leisure. Count how many times it appears that the last son of Krypton is getting his ass handed to him.
I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. I see it. I definitely see it.
Look how many times it will blow you away. I already know because I counted them, but I'm not going to say anything yet.
Yeah, listen, if you're right,
I want to save that for another day.
if you're right, if you are right, again, I'm trying to hold on to hope. If you're right and Superman gets his ass handed to him, terrible, boo. If you're wrong in that Superman loses a fight but comes back and says, listen, let me show you who I am. So, for example, there's a little scene that says, hey, eyes up here, and then he takes off. There's a strength and power in that statement. It wasn't it wasn't a weak. It was a, you know what, enough is enough. Let me show you what I'm about type of thing. That's not enough to say that that's what the movie is, but it's enough to say it could be. And so I will agree with you. If it's the first, if it's your point of view where Superman's getting, he's losing, and people have to rescue him, or he has to figure out a way to defeat his enemy rather than to beat down his enemy. I would hate that, I think, even more than you. That's part of the reason why I hate some of the Marvel movies. I hate that, hate it. But if it's a situation where Superman's struggling against, what's the name of the villain? Anyway, the guy in the armor. If it's a situation where at first he thinks he can fight Superman and he's kind of punching Superman around, and then Superman says, "Okay, enough is enough," and beats him down, then that's what I expect. That's what would excite me. So it's going to depend on the result. It's going to depend on how the movie's handled. And I think I'm going to say again, right now the trailer is showing me that it could go either way. And James Gunn, as a director, is showing me that he could go either way. He's definitely got the skill to deliver something exciting and good, but he's also got the history of not necessarily living up to that challenge. And so that's where I'm at.
Let me throw out a financial prediction, if I may.
Go.
I personally think the film will bottom out at around maybe $650 million.
Domestic or worldwide?
Worldwide. It will surprise the living heck out of me if it goes any further than that. 675 at the highest.
I think there's a potential for this movie to be over $1 billion if it Top Gun Mavericks it. I think there's also the potential for this movie not to reach 500 million. It's going to depend on what the movie is. Here's what I think. I think Superman carries enough weight, and I think this trailer carries enough weight to bring people to the movie theater to give us a relatively strong opening weekend. It's not going to be a blockbuster opening. I mean, it's not going to be the record-breaking opening weekend, but it's going to be over $100 million opening weekend. And then it's going to be a matter of, okay, what happens to that initial audience? If that initial audience comes out of the theater and says, oh, I got to see this again, then we're going to have a successful movie. Or if that initial audience calls and says, did you watch the Superman movie? Then we're going to go over $1 billion. Remember, Deadpool Wolverine made over $1 billion. So Superman can make over $1 billion. And Deadpool and Wolverine, as good as it is, it's not that great. Plus, it's a rated R movie that has limitations. So the potential is there. James Gunn has to deliver. And I think there's enough there that tells me This movie could deliver. You know, the hopeful aspect, the triumphant aspect, the all of that, if it's handled well, despite all the things that bother me, the costume, the multiple heroes, blah blah blah, despite all that, Kevin, it could be that. Right now, if you look at the reaction to the trailer, um, it's like I would say 80-20 positive to negative. And I'd say the 20%, 90% of those people are just the people that I wouldn't like this movie no matter what. Because it's not Zack Snyder, because whatever the reason, they're just not ready to like this movie and they're ready to hate the movie. 10% of those are people like you who are objective and don't see things that you like. But that gives me a range that says there's potential for this movie. A lot of the things that you say, I agree with. I just think, Kevin, that the standard has changed. We're not getting our heroes the way that we see in our mind's eye. Name the superhero that's been delivered. That's yeah. Let me give you a challenge. Name the movie, and there are some. Name the movies and the characters that lived up to our mind's eye of what the character is. Go in the movies.
The immediate, or two of the immediate ones, Iron Man and Wonder Woman with Gal Gadot.
Wonder Woman 1, yes, absolutely. One more is Deadpool. Deadpool is 100% Deadpool. And then we go to the 90% range, which could be around like Doctor Strange, 80 to 90% Strange.
Yes.
And then what? And then we go down from there. We go down from there. Captain America is interesting because when you watch Winter Soldier and Civil War, on one aspect, he's 100% Captain America, is a beautiful Captain America. But another aspect, he's not Captain America because he's not wearing the costume. He's taking off his mask every chance he gets. He's not the Captain America that I see in my mind's eye. And you call me Captain America, so I got to protect my Captain America.
Exactly.
Same thing is true for Thor. Same thing is actually it's 10 times worse for Thor. They destroyed Thor compared to comic book Thor. Same thing is true for the Hulk. They destroyed the Hulk relative to comic book Hulk. Same thing is true, and then we could go down the line of that. Same thing is true for Spider-Man. Mr. Stark, Mr. Stark. That is not, or at least it's not the Spider-Man that I have in my mind's eye. So there's been a lot of compromise with these movies that have made me come away from Civil War saying, "Oh, I love that movie." That made me come away from Winter Soldier saying, "I love that movie." And I'm saying that Superman has the potential to do the same thing. I think it does.
All I can say to the audience is up, up, and away.
Do you still think, last question, do you think it beats Fantastic Four?
No.
Wow. I think